Then check this out.
Reincarnated as a Sword, or locally known as Tensei Shitara Ken Deshita, is your average isekai anime, but it somehow managed to be interesting. Hello, I'm your friend Follow Map. Should you continue watching this typical isekai anime? Well, let's define it. Reincarnated as a Sword. It seems like isekai titles are running out of ideas to make their premise unique. We have isekai where the MC got reborn as a daddy skelly, a cute spider, and even as Yamcha. So being reincarnated as a sword doesn't seem to be riveting, especially when we had an isekai where the MC got reborn as a vending machine. Reincarnated as a Sword is your average isekai anime, where the MC died and then got reborn as an intelligent weapon in a fantasy world. Again, isekai titles speaks for themselves. The first half of episode 1 is challenging to get through because it's similar to other isekai anime and will remind you of a better anime like Tensura. It spends the first half of the episode where Shisho the sword defeats monsters, levels up, and gains their skills. So yeah, it's like a blatant copycat. Just make your slime a sword this time, right? This type of scene is tedious to watch, but it is required for isekai anime since it's a way to dump expositions on how their fantasy world works, but at least make it entertaining. Comparing it with Tensura's execution with Rimuru being a slime, he gained the underdog treatment by looking like a weakling. Shisho, on the other hand, looks like a legendary weapon that you would get in the final dungeon of a JRPG game, so it won't shock you to see this intelligent weapon defeating mobs of monsters. Reincarnated as a Sword could have fixed this by making Shisho start off being a rusty, blunt sword, and by leveling up we can see it starting to be shinier and sharper, giving it the allure of a legendary sword instead of starting off looking like one. Additionally, Shisho slaying different threatening monsters from a glutinous slime, wow, they're really copying Tensura, to a level 39 Blast Tortoise, isn't that just Blastoise? Takes away the element of future threats considering Shisho already defeated stronger monsters. With that said, it may seem like I won't recommend watching Reincarnated as a Sword, due to its typical isekai story, but this anime managed to be an interesting watch because of its heroine. Fran's backstory makes her a compelling character. Fran is a black cat girl who is trying to find a way to evolve, in turn fulfilling the dying wish of her parents. Unfortunately, she was captured by slave traders and was a subject of abuse for 4 years. Her backstory made her a character that you would root for, and even though she was tormented as a slave, she never lost her conviction to get stronger. Reincarnated as a Sword managed to write a character that we can easily support in an isekai title, especially when she is a sweet girl with cute expressions with the slightest mention of food, which doesn't feel forced considering she spent 4 years as a slave. I mean, just look at that smile. It's really great! Her stoic expressions have a reason instead of being an excuse to make her a kudere. She's suspicious of everyone because her race has been subject to discrimination for being considered weak. This brings us to another reason why Fran made Reincarnated as a Sword an interesting isekai anime to watch. Fran's low level solves the OP problem of isekai titles. Remember those strong monsters slain by the sword? Well, thankfully did not turn this anime into another isekai steroid-powered fantasy. With Fran starting at level 3, it gave us interesting fights that are not finished with a move or two. Don't get me wrong, she's still strong enough to one-shot whoever bullies our sweet girl Fran. We even see her taking damage, and oh boy my heart, please don't hurt her that much. Sure, the overpowered intelligent sword remains, but it is matched by Fran's low level and lore-stated weak race, which actually makes for a convincing master-student relationship between Shisho and Fran. By the way, I just have to say it annoys me that the sub is translating Shisho to teacher when it's more appropriate for it to be master. But whatever, it kinda works too. Anyway, Shisho and Fran's relationship is an added ingredient to why this isekai anime is interesting to watch. With Fran being a kid who still has some greenhorn, it's wholesome to see Shisho being there advising her on what to do and say in certain situations. Shisho stands as a master and father for Fran. Shisho doesn't just teach Fran how to be an adventurer, but makes sure that she is treated well with delicious food and beautiful clothes. If you're worried that this might turn into a romance plot between a cat girl and a talking sword, don't worry. I did some advanced reading and Shisho loves Fran as a daughter. It's a wholesome familial love. Reincarnated as a Sword is your average isekai anime, but it managed to be an interesting watch because of Fran and her growing relationship with Shisho. Not to mention the delightful design of its fantasy world, and back up with music ripe for a JRPG feel. So yeah, I recommend watching Reincarnated as a Sword, but let me know what you guys think. Did you drop this anime by watching episode 1 or do you want to see more Fran? Leave it here down in the comments and tap that like button if you think Fran should be protected. If you fancy a more unique isekai anime like I'm the villainess so I tamed the final boss, well here's my first thought about it. If you want more isekai anime content, then hit that subscribe button with the same amount of love as Fran does when eating fried chicken. Laters!